Elon Musk announces a massive stimulus package of $5,000 for every US household. This whole thing is massive. The last time we saw such stimulus packages was during the COVID era. After that, both the stock and Bitcoin prices shot up massively, and we reached new all-time highs. This whole thing is currently being hotly debated because it has far-reaching effects on the economic market in the US and worldwide, but also on the stock and Bitcoin prices. The big difference to the COVID pandemic is that back then the stimulus packages or helicopter money were financed through deficit spending, that is, through newly issued loans, through newly issued debt. This time, if these stimulus packages go through, which is currently being evaluated with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they're figuring it out right now whether this will actually happen. This time, it will be funded by surpluses saved by the Department of Government Efficiency. So here some fraud cases are being uncovered. Through USAID or the IRS, or the SEC, or any other institutions, money is being saved. And this money, which is now surplus, will be given back to the people here as a DOGE dividend, a Department of Government Efficiency dividend, and the whole thing could really have far-reaching effects. On one hand, it could push inflation up, but on the other hand, it could drive stock prices higher. But it could also strengthen the economy and really push the GDP forward. We're seeing the news. $5,000 DOGE dividend that is supposed to be paid out here. And the most important question now is what impact this will have. The general idea behind such a dividend is that you say, okay, there's fraud in the system, and you're getting a part of this fraud back now, creating some sort of balance. And here you can also see important metrics. It says that this plan would affect 79 million households. That would mean approximately $400 billion, which is approximately 20% of the projected savings from DOGE by 2026. And that's just crazy. This money can then be used to buy stocks, it can be used to buy Bitcoin, it can be used to spend, to consume. And we also saw during the COVID period that a lot of people took these stimulus packages and just bought Bitcoin with them. Here you can also see how it all started. Someone wrote, hey, wouldn't it be awesome to create a DOGE dividend? And then someone suggested it here. And Elon Musk says, yeah, he's checking it all out. And that would, of course, be crazy because that would be another push for Bitcoin, not at the end, but definitely new money. Here in the market, whatever can potentially flow into Bitcoin is always good. And the money is, of course, better off. For the individuals who buy Bitcoin with it, it's way better than if the government just throws the money at some pointless projects. But the important fact is that we have now learned from the Corona period, because back then it was a massive inflationary driver, and now we're in danger of saying, okay, if we do stimulus packages like that again, then that will be an inflationary driver again. And the US is already dealing with inflation issues. And that's why many people assume that this could lead to even greater inflation. But they've built in a few hurdles to avoid inflation. The plan would redistribute about 20% of the projected savings of $2 trillion for DOGE. Only households that are net payers of federal income tax would receive a refund of $5,000. This is a key point of the plan. So not like during COVID, it was really like helicopter money, where everyone got something. But this time, there are certain conditions that need to be met to receive these stimulus packages. It also means that taxpayers have a higher savings capacity. And that's why the focus should mainly be on taxpayers. So it really seems like they want to increase people's savings, that this is truly a stimulus package aimed at boosting savings amounts. So it doesn't matter whether you invest it in fiat money, or it doesn't matter if you invest in stocks, real estate, or whatever else you do. But the goal is to encourage more saving in the US. It's also interesting to compare all of this with the COVID period. So in April 2020, you got over $1,200 for a stimulus check. 0.18 Bitcoin for $1,200. That was the stimulus package back then. And today, for a check of $5,000, you only get 0.052 Bitcoin. So that's already crazy when you think about it. Back then, the stimulus packages were much, much smaller, like a fraction of what they are now at $1,200. That you got more Bitcoin back then than you do now with the bigger stimulus package. This also shows that Bitcoin is massively outperforming the dollar. And it also shows that this is definitely a very, very good argument for pumping the stimulus package into Bitcoin. It's clear that not the majority of people here will invest this in Bitcoin, but a relevant part will, and Bitcoin doesn't have such a huge market capitalization. It only takes about 3, 4, or 5% of the stimulus payouts to flow into Bitcoin to really pump up the Bitcoin price. You also have to say that there are no final statements or anything about when this is supposed to happen, if it's even going to happen, or what it will ultimately look like. These are just the initial plans, the initial thoughts on how it will ultimately look. Nobody really knows that. And now it's really interesting that the 0.18 Bitcoin you got back then for the stimulus package is worth $17,000 today. Just imagine, when people get this, they would have put their stimulus package into Bitcoin. And I remember there were a ton of tweets back when it was still Twitter where people were saying, hey, I went all in on Bitcoin with my stimulus check. And now that stimulus package, which was $1,200, has turned into $17,000. So 0.18 Bitcoin is now worth $17,000. And that's a pretty strong argument for Bitcoin and why it definitely makes sense to invest the stimulus surplus into Bitcoin. And there are also 4 key points here that are supposed to benefit the citizens. The first point I already mentioned earlier, so it's really important here with the dividend, that the wrongly spent tax money comes back to the people. I mean, something like that would be interesting in Germany too. I said this several times now that there's tax fraud in Germany. I mean, taxes are really a topic where you can debate whether it even makes sense. Because taxes are never paid on a voluntary basis. It's always an overreaching system. I think a fee system is always way better than a system based on coercion and theft. But, I mean, that's a different debate here. Then the second point, sharing the benefits of cost cutting with taxpayers. So that's basically the first point rephrased. Then the third point, strengthening the morale to increase US tax revenues. And that's a very, very important point because the problem with the whole tax situation is, well, if you're paying some taxes and you really feel like the government is doing something for you, that the state is working well for you, building good roads, a solid education system, making sure everything is in order, keeping crime under control. You feel safe, you feel comfortable in your country, you enjoy living in your country, then you're always more than willing to give a little back. And if the tax rate is not too high and you really have the feeling that this is being introduced efficiently, we have a very good state here, we have a flourishing state, everything is going up, the economy is going up, I have a very, very good model for the future here. And when you have that feeling, then the willingness to pay taxes is really, really high. And that is precisely what is crumbling in Europe, what is also crumbling in the USA. That the tax morale is massively low. And that is always the issue. Taxes are predatory, an issue that the more that comes to the table, the lower the tax morale is. When the tax morale is really, really high, no one will complain about paying 10% in taxes here. People pay 15% in taxes and so on. And I know there are countries where people definitely say, hey, I have no problem paying taxes here. The taxes are relatively low, and on the other hand, the system works pretty well. For example, if we simply compare Germany and Switzerland in Germany, the tax morale is much, much lower than in Switzerland. In Switzerland, everything still works a bit better than in Germany. Then a lot of people say, hey, I like paying taxes because I have a functioning system here. The trains are always on time. I never have any problems. And then at some point, Switzerland says, hey, we're not going to have train connections to Germany anymore because the trains in Germany are always late. And that's the question, why do some countries manage to set themselves up efficiently? Why do some countries struggle to set themselves up efficiently? And that's why. Now, they also want to work with the Department of Government Efficiency to boost that tax morale again so that people even voluntarily pay taxes here. That people say, hey, I want to support the country. And then we have, fourthly, incentives for labor participation in the calendar year 2025. And I think that means that you also spend the money here, that you pump up the gross domestic product. I mean, that's definitely a question. Okay, you can't just boost the gross domestic product, pump up normal productivity. Now we just need stimulus packages. But I've said it before at the beginning, the stimulus package isn't financed through deficit spending, but rather through surpluses. And that's a really, really big difference. But even if this is financed through surpluses, it still has an inflationary effect. That means we have new money coming into circulation. Now a lot of people are going. In the supermarket, everyone is buying things like a MacBook or something like that. And now, demand is increasing more. Money is in circulation. And then prices could go up here too, but not driven by the fact that the money supply is now increasing, but rather driven by the fact that the money is now. Before it gets lost somewhere in the state, it comes into the economy, into the real economy, and then hits real goods. Here, the demand for certain goods will go up. Then maybe the operators will raise these prices because demand is increasing. And then you also have a sort of inflationary effect, but not from the money printing press, rather from money that's now flowing into the real economy. And before that, it ended up in some government coffers or got lost abroad. A lot of money has also flowed abroad, which now is going back here. It goes to the citizens. I actually pulled up an article about the COVID pandemic again. Here it also says that a significant portion of this money, meaning the stimulus packages, flowed into the stock and crypto markets. Many people invested instead of spending the money. And then it's really, really important to note that speculative bubbles like meme stocks such as GameStop or AMC were driven up by retail investors. So the stimulus packages also led to a lot of people speculating with that money because they just thought, okay, I got $1,200 or something like that for free. That's free money for me. I can just throw that into some gamble. And maybe I'll turn that into a 100x or something. That means cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum reached new all-time highs in 2021, partly driven by speculation and excess liquidity. And that's exactly the excess liquidity that can now also come back into the market through Elon Musk. And you also have to say that these stimulus packages often benefit. Always the big companies. Elon Musk will also benefit from the stimulus package. So it sounds like Elon Musk, the altruistic guy, and Donald Trump, the altruistic guy, are going to be handing out money now. But they are very well invested. That means Elon Musk has a lot of company shares. Elon Musk has his own company. Elon Musk sells products himself. Donald Trump is well off, invested in stocks, owns real estate, and a lot more. And they know exactly that when stimulus packages hit the market, it's kind of like when you just going up to Donald Trump or Elon Musk and giving them money. But the money doesn't flow directly to them. It flows to them through rising stock valuations, increasing real estate values, and higher Bitcoin prices. Because the money, as I said, flows into stocks, into crypto assets, into real estate, into Bitcoin, and a lot more, or it flows into products. And people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump own companies again. That means company valuations go up either because the products are being consumed. As a result, the companies are worth more, they generate more revenue, and the stock valuations go up. Or the stocks that Donald Trump or Elon Musk already own go up because people are buying the stocks. So in various ways, Elon Musk and Donald Trump benefit from this too. So in my opinion, this isn't really about being altruistic. It's also about pumping their own bags. And if we take a look, the biggest wealth gains really happened during the COVID period. All those people kept posting about it. Bill Gates or Elon Musk, they've gotten so many billions richer because the stimulus packages have driven the markets up. And then the problem here is that the people who are the losers are the ones who are not financially educated. Because the people who don't invest the stimulus packages in Bitcoin, who don't put them into valuable things, but instead just consume them, are the losers here because the entire market will then appreciate. All stock valuations go up, Bitcoin goes up, cryptocurrencies go up. But the people who simply buy consumer goods lose purchasing power compared to the people who save. And they end up getting left behind. And that's the sneaky thing about these stimulus packages. Often, not the entire population benefits because they have no clue how to invest their money. They just don't have a plan from finances. And that's why often only the people who are already well invested in the financial market benefit from this. The companies that Elon Musk and Donald Trump have will probably benefit from this too because the Bitcoin price is going up. But a whole lot of people are going to get left behind. And that's something you always have to keep in mind. Absolutely wild story going on here. Let me know down below what you think about it. If you want to buy more Bitcoin, if you want to prepare for the stimulus shock, I'll drop a link for you down below. 21 Bitcoin, how you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin. Here, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin with the code. Let me know what you think about all this. See you later. Peace out.